it was a real wake-up call going, okay, silicon's got a far bigger part other than the electricity. There's nutrition involved in this. So it just, oh, God, what have we got to find to fix this, or the gap in between, and where are we going with this? Which led, I would say probably another 6 or 7 year hunt with rocks and bits and pieces and whatever we were doing. Because every time you did something, you got a reaction and go, why did that happen? And as I said in the book, it was like the numbers might have looked all right, but if the cows were sick or you weren't growing any grass, well, numbers are worthless if they don't match up. And you're trying to match numbers against observation and see which ones, like what's going on in the soil, and are the numbers reflecting what's happening, and is this truth or is it not, or how can I actually replicate this process again? And it gets pretty trying at times when you're sort of going, well, if I'm right under my Brookside process, the soil should be working. And that great saying of Albrich's, study books, study nature. If they don't agree, throw away the books. So you had to look at the research, what had already been done, and if it wasn't working, there had to be more research. So then if you applied what we found with the silicon brew with the electrical side of it, and then sometimes it didn't work. And so like, oh, God, what have I got to find out now? And it just became an ongoing challenge. But, I think the thing about rockhounds and that, and I've seen it so many times on so many different farms, is that you go somewhere and you see a bank and the sheep or the cattle have been chewing into that bank. And they're telling you something. People go, it must have a bit of salt in it. Okay, really? And, I just a farm last year up the Rakai Gorge. They've got a massive problem with Californian thistles at the moment. And we were driving around the farm and I just said, stop. He said, what? So I showed him this bank where the sheep had been chewing into. He said, sheep have been chewing. I said, yeah, but have a look down the bank on what's going on and the type of plants that are growing and where that runoff had come from the rain and the sheep and pushing it down. Is there any thistles there? No, there's not. And there's cocksfoot prairie grass. It was beautiful feed. So I said, well, there's an indication there that you're short of silicon because the sheep are eating it out of the bank directly,
and they're silicon providers.
Yeah, and then it's going down the hill, and so then there's no need for the thistles to grow because, hey presto, it's already in the soil. So there's this lovely green strip going down the hill.
All right, so wow, there's so much there. When you say so, there's no need for the thistles to grow. Can you unpack that?
Well, that's
for
just
someone that's never sort of heard that concept before.
Well, it's something that, like we are in December at the start of summer and like we've got this massive thistle explosion all around the country except our farm. And
except your farm.
Yeah, well, and our clients' farms. And people go around and spray them, but what the thistles are showing is that anything with prickles is telling you there's no silicon. That's what we've unpacked. Is like if you've got gorse, you've got no silicon. If you've got nettles, Californian thistles, it's all a silicon issue.
I heard from people that are really into natural health, real sort of advanced hippies, that they said to me that if there was thistles on the land that showed a deficiency, they didn't specifically tell me silicon.
Yeah.
But they went on to say, and the process of what that plant does is it restores it back into the ground. Is that true or not true?
Absolutely.
It is true.
Yeah. But how long have you got to wait?
Yeah.
And how many crops of thistles have you got? And how much production are you missing out?
Okay, let's say it's 10 years. Like, it's just some horrendous period of time. How does it do that?
Well, it through the microbiome in the soil and the electrical mechanism from the plant that's going, look, we need this. I will bring the silicon up. And then I will lay it down on the ground in a more available form than it's in the soil. And then when I get enough of that in the soil, I won't need to grow anymore. Last year, we had, the year before, we had 3.5 metres of rain, which is a lot for us. We usually get 2, but 3.5 was just over winter, like I've never seen it so wet. And all around us last summer, all the farms were covered in willow weed. And willowweed or pepperweed or what do you want to call it, it's a sign of anaerobic conditions in wet soils. Now, the farms, this just exploded. Or, one neighbour was mowing his paddocks and, I think we were standing at the fence.
Mowing his paddocks.
Well, he had to mow it to get the willowweed down. It was over a foot high and it was just horrendous, the whole paddock. And I was leaning on the fence and he came over and had a chat and he said, how's it going and all that sort of stuff. And Paula said to him, have you thought about, what you're doing? He says, And then he said, you're still using that silicon stuff? And I'm going, yeah. It sort of works, eh? Like there's no weeds over here, eh? And he said, well, but you've got Angus cows. And he's got dairy cows. I'm going, well, okay. So I went away and had a look at my Angus cows' mouths to see if they had little mowers on the front of them to mow. Well, they didn't. I was really surprised. But this is the mentality that instead of looking at the cause of the problem, and this is the mentality of all of these things. We always go to symptom bashing instead of what's the actual issue here. And it doesn't matter where you go around the country, like that example where I showed, there was this bank coming down and the sheep had eaten it out and the grass is growing, and I've seen people putting sand around troughs and they go across the back and a piece spills off and all of a sudden where it spilled off, the grass grew. There has to be something in that, otherwise the grass wouldn't grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so why aren't we researching that?
True. All right, but just going back to the plants that no one wants,
yeah,
making the ground better, that are growing in this the scenario perfect for them, their lifespan just improves the land.
Yeah,
over time.
They are remedial.
Oh, great! That's a nice one.
Okay,
yeah.
And you see it with gorse. It's really interesting, like with gorse and home at the moment. Like we have got patches where we've just left out for bush because it's just. We're never going to get any grazing out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the gorse comes up, so it's all prickles and that, and then the pungas come through. Now, the pungas are a primordial plant. I think that's the word for it.
People wouldn't have these overseas, would they?
I don't know.
They're native,
probably get
aren't
Yeah, they are. Well, I don't know, actually, but they're beautiful, these pungas, and they come up fast and they shade and then they let the forest grow through. The interesting thing is they're silicon-based. They're not carbon-based plant. And so like you have a gorse bush, then you have a punga, then you have a tree come after that. And it's like, wow, nature's just far too clever for us silly bloody farmers. Like it's just doing it for us.